Matt Lenihan for Boxing Social in association with Empire Fight Store and our Kings, Gareth A. Davies. We are here. It is fight week. You're not in Saudi Arabia yet, but I know you're going.
Yeah,
It's a big week. There's a main event there which I think is so intriguing for a number of reasons. I think many people's eyes we've seen the birth of a potential superstar in Moses Itauma. You've had Dillian Whyte there who looks in incredible shape from every sort of clip I've seen. What do you make of this week? It's going to be an interesting old fight week.
yeah, absolutely right. Good morning, Lifesaver. Great to see you as always. Yeah, it's a really big week in the heavyweight division. Coming of age party. Sorry about my lighting. Coming of age party for Moses Itauma. There we go. I'll just leave it like that. Moses Itauma against the first really big name he's been up against, headlining in Riyadh. I'm off there tomorrow. Telegraph and Talk Sport this week. It's great to catch up with you. Coming out party for Moses Itauma, and a massive test for him, regardless of what anyone says or whether they feel that Moses will have Dillian's number and that Dillian's best days are 3 or 4 years past him. It's still going to be a big test for him in terms of what Dillian brings. Like you say, Dillian looks in fantastic shape. But Moses has spoken well so far, and he's got he's not underestimating Dillian Whyte in any shape or guise or form, and I think he knows he's got to put in a great performance. A lot of people are expecting him to use his hand speed on Dillian and his footwork and stop Dillian, but Dillian's an old warrior at 37 and won't be giving it up lightly. And I think it may leak a few surprises. It wouldn't surprise me if Dillian did cause the upset, but also it wouldn't surprise me either if Moses Itauma looked very, very good against him and too young, fresh and fast.
So I'm with you on that in sense of I think the way we talk about certain fighters, like I've not heard one person, and I mean this other than when I maybe listen to yourself on talks or whatever. You ask any sort of A casual or B someone who's half an interest and they say this is a Moses Itauma knockout, and it's almost like it's so beyond dismissive, and it's like he's a special talent, but you've got to remember this is his actual first test. And Dillian Whyte, no matter what anyone says, he's an absolute dog, and if he's motivated and he lands a shot, we're going to have to see what Moses is all about. And look, this might not be the opponent to do that for him, but are you surprised with maybe how dismissive people have been, or is that just the nature of the beast that we're dealing with?
No, I think there's always a lot of hype and promotion around very special fighters, and when you look at Dillian's career in the last 4 years, he's 3 years. He's had 3 fights in 3 years. Hasn't been that active. Obviously, they've been wins against Jermaine Franklin, Christian Hammer, and Ebenezer Tete. But before that, 2022, the loss to Tyson Fury, the loss to Alexander Povetkin that he avenged, but that kind of Povetkin from 2021 is the guy that he's got to get back to, Dillian. Oscar Rivas was a good win. Derek Chisora and Joseph Parker were obviously good wins, as the KO of Lucas Brown. But you're talking about Parker, Brown, and Chisora being 7 years ago, Rivas 6 years ago, and Povetkin 4 years ago. So, that time isn't on Dillian's side. He's had a very stuttering career in the last 3 or 4 years, and on the flip side of that, young Moses has only had 25 rounds in the ring with those victories, and Dillian has done 8 times the number of rounds, 200 rounds as a pro. So, there's lots of things that are question marks around Moses. I just feel that there's something icy cool about him. I don't think he believes his own hype. I think he truly believes in himself. And I've said this about him, Matthew, that what I like about him is he's got just the right level of arrogance about himself to bring himself to the next level. Like he's not in awe of anyone in the division, and he just feels special. We could all be wrong because the proof is in the delivery. And if he
Yeah.
can't deliver or he has an off night, that hype and that promotion will die down a little bit.
He's never wavered. I remember interviewing him and yourself for the joint one. I think it was in Riyadh at the time, and
Yeah.
he's not changed from then, from his first fight to now. It's all about business. He understands where he's at, and you never hear him. You never once go look and go, you know what, you're a bit off it here. He's so level with it, and he's
Well,
obviously
when you
got the
ask him a
hype.
question, it doesn't. He doesn't. He questions the question quite often.
Yeah,
He said, "Well, you're asking me that, but I can't give you an answer to that." And I like that kind of the realism that he presents.
yeah,
And he's going to have to be real against Dillian. My thing this week. So what Dillian's got to do is try and old man him from the very beginning. I've
yeah.
got a son. I've got a son older than you. Dillian's got a son who's older than Moses.
That's
Extraordinary.
wild. Yeah,
Dillian's not an old man. I mean, and he looks in phenomenal shape from the clips I've seen of him. I haven't spoken to him yet. Really looking forward to speaking to him on Wednesday. But I think if there was if Moses was a trash talker, if Moses was a kind of a flashy showman, but he's all business. He's not any of those things, and I think there's something very convincing about him, and he needs, as I say, he needs to put that into practice on Saturday night in Riyadh in the main event.
if he wins and beats Dillian Whyte, forget the manner. Say it does take him a good few rounds, but say he gets the job done for argument's sake. What's the next step? Because I hear his name getting bandied around with Usyk, and we've spoke about this briefly before. But do you go that high? I mean, there's no real going back after beating a Dillian Whyte.
No, there's no going back. I mean, this is the next level opponent for him, and from here, it's obviously he's ranked number one with the WBO, which is a kind of it's a slightly surreal ranking in lots of ways, given that he's boxed 25 rounds as a pro.
Yeah,
But we know what happens with the sanctioning bodies, that they're positioning people. You could place him in the top 10, 12 in the world right now, and I think if he beats Dillian convincingly, if he stops Dillian, if he looks very fast and very agile, and that left hand lands and that uppercut lands, and he looks brilliant, fast and mobile in there, and he gets a dramatic stoppage. I think the talk will be probably a Parker fight, and from there, there's no going back from there. Joseph Parker, Fabio Wardley, Lawrence Okoli, Justice Hooney, Alexander Usyk, and it is conceivable that if Alexander Usyk vacates the WBO and doesn't face Joseph Parker, and we don't know for sure that's going to happen yet, if Usyk vacates that title and the belt is vacant, it's not beyond the bounds that Moses Itauma, with a very convincing win over
Dillian.
Dillian Whyte, fights Joseph Parker this year, in my view, and then maybe fights Alexander Usyk next year if they can get Usyk in a ring with him, and also the right money for it. And also whether the Warren management, Frank, George, and particularly
Francis, yeah.
believe that it's going to be the right, and Ben Davison, his trainer, whether they are going to risk him against Usyk at this stage in his career.
Yeah.
But it's mouth-watering,
It's
Matthew. It really is.
it's so interesting. It really is. Want to touch on a couple more things before we go. So just
And and,
quickly,
and by the, and by the way,
go on.
sorry, and by the way, Floyd Patterson, George Foreman, Ali, Mike Tyson. Obviously, he's missed the Mike Tyson record, but and he's a slightly different fighter to Mike Tyson. And Tyson fought 19 times, I think it was, in the first 15 months of his career. I think I was looking at the other day. I think it's certainly 14 or 15 fights in the first year, something like that. That there's still records to be broken. I think Sonny Liston was 22 odd, Muhammad Ali 22, George Foreman 24 when they won the world title.
Yeah.
So he's got years on his side to be amongst the very best. And I know people find the comparisons between the eras odious, and obviously Patterson, Ali, and Foreman fall into the same era in a sense. But we do hype and promote fighters, and it's inevitable, and it's part of the sport. And equally, if Dillian knocks him out, there'll be questions asked, and
Yeah,
he'll have to begin again. So there are enormous risks here, and a lot of eyeballs will be on him on Saturday night.
definitely. Last time we spoke, we touched on a potential deal between Boxer and where they were going. It's now been confirmed. They're going on BBC, terrestrial TV, free to air. I look at that deal and go, I'm a big fan of variety in boxing, not just the one platform. I used to love it when
Yeah.
there was TNT, Sky, you had all these different elements. Channel 5, there's so many options. This does present something new. What do you make of the deal that's been struck? And is it, you look at the bigger fights for the names they've got, your maybe your Callum Simpsons, obviously the Eubank Ben fight's done as well, but it's going to be an interesting sort of move, this, I think, for boxing. But more eyeballs get on the sport because of it. Must be good.
Yeah, I did an interview last week before the actual detail was announced, and I thought it was just going to be an iPlayer deal, BBC iPlayer deal, but obviously it's on the main platform, mainstream Saturday night. I believe it's four events over the next 12 months.
Yeah.
That's what I believe it is. And I think when I spoke about it, it hadn't broken. I was talking around the houses with Boxing King Media about this, and I think I was a little bit off at the time because I didn't know it was going to be. They hadn't revealed that it was going to be BBC mainstream, BBC
Yeah.
One, and I was speaking from the perspective of having worked with Bellator when the MMA league got a deal with the BBC iPlayer, and I was working with the iPlayer, and I presented the first event from Paris actually on the BBC iPlayer that night, and it never really gained resonance. But I think there's a great platform with having BBC One. If it's going to run before match of the day, so I think. Spoke to Callum Simpson about this on Saturday night, and he's excited. Wants to be on Strictly, MasterChef. But there's a
He
possibility.
gets the game in, by the way. If
I've
anyone's ever
always
met
said that
him,
about him. I've always said that about him. Barnsley's finest.
one of the best people you'll meet in the sport, normal geezer, but he
He's
goes
not
to
normal
every
at
event.
all.
No, but as in how he speaks, as in there's no you've got to have ego, but you meet him in the street, he's a man of the people. But he gets the game as well so much.
He's 100% committed to a career in it,
Yes.
to make a career, and I really like that about him. And I think when the time's right, he against Ben Whittaker should be a big fight in the UK. I really like the deal. I've spoken to Ben off camera, if you like, on text, and he's very
Yeah.
happy about it. Ben Shalom, I'm really pleased for him. Like you say, competition is a really healthy thing. It depends whether the BBC really pick up the baton, Matthew, and really go with it, and what the shoulder programming is going to look like.
Yeah.
And look, there was a big investment into Boxer and Shalom by Sky. We don't want to lose Sky from the sport either, in my view. They've got a great broadcast team, and they really know what they're doing. I mean, in front and behind the camera, they've got a great team. I hope the advice and the I go back to the days when Audley Harrison had a 10-fight deal in 2001 with the BBC, and he was able to pick his opponents. He got 100,000 a deal, and he was allowed to pick his opponents. I think Mike Lewis, well, the director of sport at the time at the BBC, made the mistake of not having an agent choosing
The
those
opponents. Yeah.
things. So he was fighting strippers and doormen and binmen and taxi drivers, and a guy pulled off the street one night to fight him. No, virtually that. And I always tell this story about by his seventh fight in Liverpool Olympia, they booed Audley in and they booed him out. Who was the last person that Audley Harrison fought?
David Hay, wasn't it? Oh, no, no. Did he have? How many did he have after that? Did he have more than one?
Yeah, it's a big name.
It's not Wilder, was it?
Yeah, Deontay
Fucking
Wilder.
hell. Jesus, it was, wasn't it?
Deontay Wilder, David Price, and David Hay had very bad nights against, but
Yeah, he did, yeah.
Audley was suited to the amateur style, won the super heavyweight gold. But I'm digressing there. But this is the first time back for 25 years. It's really good news. Whatever anyone's criticism might be of the BBC, in generality, in the consensus of it, generally. this is a great move. It's a great moment for people like Callum Simpson. Ben Whittaker wants to stay with them. He could become a household name easily, in my view. And those female fighters, Lauren Price, Fran Hennessy,
Caroline
Carol,
Dubois, yeah.
Adam Mazim. There's a reason for staying with Boxer for that stable now that was built on Sky. So I'm really pleased for him, for them, and for the sport.
Yeah, definitely. Well, look, I'm going to let you shoot because I know you've got something coming up next, and it's just a nice way to end, I think, is on that. We'll see you out there in Saudi. We've somebody there, not myself, but Regan, who's just joined the team, will be there. So,
Mean
um,
Regan the Megan.
yeah, he's got the best last name in boxing. You know what it is?
Clay.
Slay,
No, don't tell me Ali. No,
Slaymaker. What a
oh,
last name.
Slaymaker.
What
What
a
a name,
last name.
Slaymaker.
What a last name.
I don't think I'd have guessed that. What a
Is
great
it?
name.
It is. It's a banging name. Yeah,
Slaymaker. I shall bump into Regan when I'm out, though, so I won't be able to do anything on
I
fight.
know.
But I shall look out for him and I'll put a protect. How old is he?
He's mid-20s.
He's on
Mid-20s.
first big job abroad for you, though, yeah?
For me, is yeah, I think he's done one before, but it's his first one. It's like,
Excellent.
go on, see what you can do.
I'll look out for him.
Do. He's a good boy. Right.
Cheers, Matthew.
Catch up soon. Enjoy your trip. We'll catch up when you
Cheers,
get back.
brother. Cheers.